I give it to Richard after Becca. No.
Oh, yeah.
Michael.
Okay, so Lloyd, you introduce Justin, so yoga, Michael, Justin. We're just literally waiting for 2 more people to arrive, so chat Michael.
everybody. My name, for those of you I haven't had a chance to introduce myself to, my name is Joke and I'm from UNICEF, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here at the We the People's Hub. I think it's a great and an exciting place, so I hope you all agree with me on that one. And I just dropped the health goal, so Michael, maybe you can help put it up again. I'd like to especially, of course, welcome our speakers, but in particular our partners, Project Everyone, Action 2015, Global Citizens, and so many more, as we come together today to start to bring alive the new global goals for children around the world. And we all know what's going to happen tomorrow, so I'm not going to tell all of that, but on my paper here, I just want to make three very brief points. I mean, we've just stood with 17 symbols, and we all know that this new agenda is really global and ambitious in scope and scale, ranging from the health goal to decreasing inequality, peace and security. Really, I think they're all helping us move towards a much better world in 2030. So yes, this is all about the goals and targets, but I think importantly the SDGs are also about commitment. They're about political commitment, governments, civil society, private sector. They're about commitment, they're about partnership, and I think it's important that we keep that in mind. And it is, I think, that commitment that should also stretch to the most vulnerable and most disadvantaged. As we all know, there's been a lot of progress in the past decades, but we haven't been able to make all children benefit from that progress, and we all know that still 500 million children are living in extreme poverty, 59 million children are not going to school, 5.9 million children will not see live until their first birthday, and I think importantly also children living in conflict areas who haven't seen any of this progress coming to them. And I think it's important for us to realize if we don't reach those children, we're not going to achieve the SDGs. And finally, and I think probably most importantly, the SDGs are about people, they're about men, women, they're about children and young people, and particularly the children and the young people who will not only inherit this world in 2030, but they will make sure that the progress we're achieving until then will be truly sustainable, and therefore they need to be involved in shaping that progress and that new world. And that is why the largest lesson and initiative of the Global Goals campaign is so important. It will do much more than actually teaching the children about the 17 goals, however important that may be. It will help them get engaged in the challenges that will shape themselves, the future of their children, and basically the future of children everywhere. And it will help them overcome these challenges and drive the change I think that we need to see to make the world a better place in 2030. And I think we need to remember, as one colleague said, that yes, this is about the world that we're going to leave to our children, but it's very much also about the children we're going to leave to the world, because it's the children that are going to make the change for all of us. So again, very excited that you're all here. We have a very interesting half an hour in front of us with great speakers. You already see some of them sitting here. But for now, I'd like to hand over to my colleague Michael from Europeana. Michael.
Thank you, Yoka. I hope this microphone's working. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with Yoka. She said I'm Michael Neal from UNDP, and with UNICEF we're here to show the strongest possible support from the UN system for this fantastic project. And I really want to thank in particular Richard Curtis, Project Everyone, all of the partners who have made this possible. You know, we won't achieve the Sustainable Development Goals without everyone's support. And if we're going to have everyone's support, the first point is we have to make sure everyone knows about the goals. I remember Richard and I met here for the first time in New York last year, and talked about the challenge of making this complex set of goals, targets, comprehensive, understandable to ordinary people. It's ordinary people ultimately who will achieve these SDGs with our support, with our backing, but we depend on everyone. So Project Everyone is the ideal label for this effort. And in the period since we met, Richard, with many other partners who are represented here, have done fantastic work to make a start on that, with content across all kinds of platforms. And we're seeing it in social media, we saw it on the walls of the UN building the last few days. And this event with the guest speakers is a fantastic opportunity to add to that and really give the maximum possible voice, profile, impact for this enormously important undertaking which Yoka has described. And from UNDP, where I work, we're doing everything we can, not just here in New York, but through the network of country offices we have around the world. I think on Sunday we have the launch of the Social Good Summit. That will be happening here in New York, but also through at least 108 of the UNDP country offices around the world. I was told from North Korea to Madagascar, from Colombia to Albania. I'm not quite sure why we picked those 4 countries, but it shows you the global spread. So there will be events happening all over the world with civil society, with UN partners, with all of you, to give the greatest possible publicity and profile to this launch and to the hard work ahead. We've set the goals, or our leaders are about to do so. We now have to achieve them and move on to implementation with everyone's participation. So for all the work that's been done for that, many thanks. And I will hand over to a friend and colleague of many standing, Justin Forsyth, from Save the Children, to introduce the main speakers today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. A few months ago, I was in Sicily, in Italy, standing on the dock in Catania, a port in Sicily, if you've never been there. And an Irish naval ship pulled up, and 600 men, women and children were on board, huddled in their tinfoil wraps, being plucked out of the Mediterranean. And they came off and that boat down the gangplank and were met by Red Cross and Save the Children and Italian emergency services. And I talked to one young boy who had told me his story. And even though I had thought the horror of crossing the Mediterranean in a boat locked below would be the worst story he could tell me, what the story he actually told me were the horrors of what had happened to him in the 2 years preceding ever getting on that boat. How he had fled from Eritrea, he had been kidnapped by a gang in Sudan, he had been sold into slavery in the Sinai, how he was tortured while they made his parents on a mobile phone listen so that they could extort more money from them to free him, how eventually he escaped and got into Libya and then was enslaved again by a Libyan armed militia, and with 124 other children, how every day before he finally got on this boat, they took him out to make him work for them, but they also hung them upside down and beat them with iron rods. And this was before he ever even got on that boat. As an unaccompanied child without his mum and dad coming to Europe, that young man, those young girls and boys desperately need our support. And for me, the huge lesson of the current refugee and migrant crisis in Europe is that no one country, no one organisation can solve this crisis. That if we are going to find solutions to the refugee and migrant crisis, if we're going to find solutions to the challenges of climate change or inequality or poverty, if we're going to deal with the root causes as well as the symptoms, we have to come together as nations, as organisations, to take on these challenges. So when the 163 leaders come in the coming days, hopefully to sign in blood to these new Sustainable Development Goals, and the dozens of leaders in the following days also add to that 163. I think in total there'll be more than 200 leaders who sign up to these goals. They know in their heart that they by themselves and only together can face up to these great challenges. That we can be that first generation to end extreme poverty, to take on and defeat inequality, to avoid dangerous climate change. We can be that generation to make sure that no child dies from diarrhea and pneumonia and malaria, but we'll only do it by coming together. And my belief is that those leaders will only go that final mile by a mass mobilisation of civil society globally and in all those individual countries. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of Action 2015, which has helped mobilise over 30 million people in the last few months alone. And in the last 24 hours and in the coming 12 hours, hundreds of thousands of people from India to Australia to South Africa are also standing up to take action, to tell the leaders who are coming to meet in the coming days, is not just come and agree to these goals, but agree to deliver on these goals. Because this isn't just a piece of paper. This summit is a life and death opportunity for millions of people. We know that just on one of the targets in these goals around child mortality, that if we deliver on the promise of these goals, we will save 6,500 children's lives a day between now and 2030. This is life and death for millions of people, this summit. So tonight, we'll have Gracia Michel speaking in Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza to thousands of people. I hope you'll all come and cover it, to bring down the curtain on the opening of this summit, and to speak up for those millions of people that are not only going to mobilise in the run-up to this summit, but are now going to mobilise in the years ahead to make sure our leaders deliver on it. The people's goals, not just the global goals. It's my pleasure now to introduce a film by Richard Curtis called Home. And then I'm going to ask, and I'm not going to introduce them all because they can just stand up and speak, Alexandra, who's a youth activist from Brazil, who's campaigned tirelessly for the results that we're going to get in the coming days, and will campaign tirelessly for the implementation. And also Becca, who's not only a singer, and we've heard some of her songs in the minutes before this panel, but is also an activist in Africa from Ghana, who will also speak about what's been going on in Africa with this campaign. But first, the film, Home.
Home. It means such completely different things to every person in the world. It's a house, it's a city, it's a country. Home is something you want to protect. People will go to extraordinary lengths to preserve their home. People love their homes. And if they don't feel that they have a home, they'll risk everything to find one. The further we find ourselves from home, the more we miss it. It's a question of perspective, of distance. And pretty much every single person who's been to space over the last 50 years has come to the same conclusion. It's the whole planet that's our home.
The earth was small, large, blue, and so touchingly alone. Our home that must be defended like a holy relic.
When you're finally up at the moon, looking back on Earth, all those differences and nationalistic traits are pretty well going to blend, and you're going to get a concept that maybe this is one world. And why the hell can't we learn to live together like decent people?
On the first day up in space, we all pointed to our own countries. The third or fourth day, we were pointing to our continents. By the fifth day, we were aware of only one Earth.
We have this connection to Earth. I mean, it's our home.
Wherever we live, whatever language we speak or food we eat, the earth is our home. We have to take care of it. And we should look out for everyone else who lives here. That has got to be our goal. That's why we need goals.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here with you today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where I come from and what I do, just to give you some context in why I need these goals and why I think they're really important to us. I'm from Rio, that is my hometown. That's where I grew up, and for the past 4 years I've been working with youth activists in Rio to participate more actively in local politics and help pressure decision makers to implement the policies that we need to live in a better, more equal city with equal access to opportunity for everyone. I come from the first generation of Brazilians that were born under a democracy, and I really do believe that our institutions are capable of delivering so much more than they have delivered so far. I'm incredibly optimistic for the next 15 years, and I am sure that I am also from the first generation that will see the end of extreme poverty and other real challenges that we have in our everyday lives now. Now, when it comes to the global goals, I am really excited about what's coming next, because I know that these goals will be known by Brazilian youth, and that makes our jobs as activists a lot easier. My community in Rio, the community that I've helped grow, it's called Meu Rio, My Rio in Portuguese, and that community is now over 200,000 registered members. About half of them are young people, 18 to 29-year-olds. That's 10% of millennials in the city of Rio, and they will all know about the goals by tomorrow, for sure. But what's important about that is that next time they have a claim on policy, next time they want to change something in the city, they will know that what they are asking for is not impossible, because those changes have been agreed upon by their leaders in a meeting like this. So this space, this movement that we're building here together, it gives all of us who are working at a very local level with very small changes that we want to make, the legitimacy to ask for more. And that is the main thing we have to do, the actual thing that makes a difference. Because the most difficult thing in mobilizing people is not talking to them, it's not inspiring them, but it's actually making them believe that what they're asking for is achievable. Because that's the main response you get from a leader who doesn't want to change, is that that change is just not possible. And when you have the knowledge of what's going on at the multinational level, at the international level, amongst leaders around the world, you all of a sudden realize that your claims are not only possible, but they are commitments that have already been made that now need to be achieved. The fight for achieving these goals will not be fought just in forums like this. That fight is fought every day, and you have to break it down to very small details. What happens when a local government fails to deliver a mobility system that works so that people who live in disadvantaged neighborhoods and communities can actually come to the city center, look for jobs, look for opportunity, and integrate themselves in the cultural and political life of the city? That is the kind of decision, that is the kind of challenge that will eventually lead up to us achieving or not achieving these goals. So making sure that young people believe in these goals, making sure that they know them by heart, that they can claim them, they can defend them in every single political decision that is made at every level is crucial to the success of this tremendously optimistic and ambitious enterprise. And I know that activists around the world are watching us closely now, and they will take this with them, and they will make it their own, and that's exactly what we need. We're now expanding our work to other cities in Brazil and soon in Latin America, and we want to make sure that every single young person in these cities is aiming for more and asking for more every day, and that they will look at the international community as allies in achieving that change every day. So thank you so much for all the work we've done.
Well, I was thinking I was going to stand up as she sat, so because I wanted to see my shoes on my necklace. I think they go really well with the logo up there, so that's why I wanted. Anyway, thank you all for thank you very much for having me here. First, thank you for coming. I want to say thank you to Rachel God bless you so much. People in Africa, especially the artists, we really needed someone like you to come across and ask us to be a part of this wonderful initiative. We did a song, a beautiful song for this, the Global Goals, and so I'm going to run you through how it all happened. I'm sure all of you are asking why this song came about. Well, across Africa, young people are really disillusioned by politics and world leaders. And so we thought that the best way to do this was to do it through music, in a music video. And so we thought sending a message across to them was to do it through music and music videos. Like we all know, music is a universal language, and I'm sure it doesn't